And welcome. This is Coffee with Pastor John, presented by MCC Briefing. We're so glad you joined us today. We've been having a wonderful week with all kinds of interviews, and we encourage you to go back and check those out. We had the Compassion Ministry on Monday, that team with Sharon, and she was on telling us all about their outreach and the remarkable things taking place there. And then yesterday we had the Lumpkeys on, the wonderful Sean Project, talking about the work they're doing with materials they're producing for their work overseas and around the world. And this incredible interview, and encourage you to go see that as well. All of these are available on YouTube at any time for you to check out and to participate in the comment section. I want to mention the Lumpkeys because we have a free draw. If you leave a comment, you'll enter a pool of names that we're going to draw from, and you could win one of the new Bible study series that they're putting out, and they're making that available. We're very kind of them to do that for us. But today we have CHERYL Brown with us. CHERYL Brown is part of a group called High Country Helps, which was a response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the isolation that took place. And MCC and the community asked, well, what can we do to help our neighbors out? What can we do? What should our response be to that? And so we went to a few experts and doctors and so on and asked them what we do. And out of that came High Country Helps. And CHERYL Brown's with me. Hi, CHERYL.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm real good. And CHERYL, you're the new program manager for High Country Helps. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, excellent. How long you been at this?
I think it's about 9 weeks for myself. I came on a little bit later than everyone else getting this off the ground. So I'm one of the later entries into it. So 9 weeks we've been at it, just trying to build and get our name out there. So.
Well, that's not any time at all, right? I bet that's gone by real fast.
Right.
9 weeks.
Yep, it has.
Well, we are so grateful for you jumping in there and participating in this and making it happen. It's no small thing. I understand. So, I said in the intro that High Country Helps was an attempt to respond to the pandemic, COVID-19. We didn't all know what that meant at that time when we started out. We're all trying to figure that out, as everyone is still. And now it's landed in your area. So tell us, what is High Country Helps now? What is that, and what are you guys doing?
Well, it's actually a faith-based initiative between the churches of the High Country Ministerial and with Youth with a Mission, actually. So there's a lot of people in the area that have collaborated their resources and their ideas and come together to really just meet the needs of the community wherever they happen to be. So whether that's prescription delivery or delivery of groceries. If somebody is sick or isolating, we have people who are making meals and bringing a frozen meal to people. Anything really, like, if you're isolated, but your dog needs to be walked and you're still trying to figure this out, we have people that are willing to just come take your dog to the dog park, cut grass, sew a mask for you, that sort of thing. Wow. This is really actually affected a lot of our seniors as well. And so, as much as seniors are already very isolated, this has become, even a bigger thing for them as they're the most vulnerable. So we actually have some people that are giving them phone calls, the compassion team that you referenced, on Monday, they're giving those phone calls. And, even I know Millerville Community Church has been calling all their members as well. So, so there's just a whole variety of things that High Country Helps does. Referrals to the food bank, referrals to different pastors. If you just don't know who to call because all of a sudden you're under stress mentally or homeschooling or whatever, and you just need someone to talk to, there's people out there, and we're just there to help connect people with people.
Yeah, it isn't always money that you need, right? Yeah, sometimes just some understanding, being aware of what resources are out there. So it's really a community initiative, isn't it? It's not just churches taking care of their own people, but a larger community around us and saying, "Hey, we're here. What can we do to help?"
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think too, like, that's the mentality. I'm sure most people are already out there, chatting with their neighbor over the fence, or, just sitting on the driveways chatting with each other, trying to keep that physical distance. Um, but yeah, I mean, if we all just pool our resources and come together, right? And I mean,
Hmm.
how much more effective could we be? And I think that's exactly what High Country Helps is saying, hey, anyone out there willing to lend a hand, let's get together and we'll connect you with the people who need a hand.
Well, that's awesome, and I think it's a great thing. And as all these things, when you start up something new like this, it evolves and grows in response to the environment that you discover out there. But you're in that phase when you're getting out in the community and connecting and finding out what's going on, and and then responding to that situation. I know when 2020 started, it was absolutely bizarre year so far, and you just never know what to expect or what's actually taking place in our world. And we're all trying to figure that out. Initially, we heard of it, the pandemic. You imagine bodies stacking up in the streets and that kind of stuff, and bring out your dead on carts or something like that. But it wasn't that. It was mostly just staying home and staying isolated. But there was a lot of fear out there. But I was chatting with the compassion team on Tuesday, and one of the greatest challenges is getting isolated. That is probably as harmful to a person's life as anything else. We don't realize how much we are social beings, and getting isolated can lead to a downward spiral in many ways. But I imagine you're also hearing about economic needs out there and
Yeah,
stresses.
there's quite a few out there. Actually, I was talking with Community Connections out of High River with Kathy Matheson, and she was saying that actually a lot of the needs that they're seeing are people that have been kicked out of their rental units or have lost their home, and they're
Yeah.
a one stop in the hotel or motel, and they need food, and they don't have a phone because their phone has been cut off, so they
Yeah.
can't even get in touch with some of the services out there. And so like those are some of the things that, especially, in our first world problems here, like nobody thinks about not having a phone, right? And
Yeah.
not being able to connect or not being on the internet and being able to just Google something, right? But that's something we're running into is there are people that don't have that internet connection, especially with the libraries that are closed and they don't have the phones. You don't have put in the quarter and dial on a payphone as readily available, especially out in the small town areas. So these are some of the other challenges and uh, and needs that we're coming across is even just somebody needing a phone number and a phone to call on.
Absolutely. We don't realize how quickly in trouble you can get, and how the things we take for granted can disappear on you, and then what do you do? So, boy, this isn't a new idea, is it, at all? This idea of neighbors helping neighbors, and not just waiting on the government to do something, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think as a society, we've just become so independent, and as things seem to be speeding up in our world, we just start shutting more and more people out, and so, it's more uh, internalizing things instead of connecting. And since we have become such a busy society, I mean, how many of us talk to our neighbors? There's so many people that don't even know who their neighbors are out there. So when you come into troubles like this and you don't even know who's across the street and if they need help or if you could go to them for help, right? So I think it's good at this point in time for us all to recognize that we do need each other. And you know what? You maybe didn't choose to live beside your neighbor, but that's who you're living beside. So why not reach out and be Jesus to that person, lend a hand and get to know them.
Yeah, it's just people taking care of people, and it's not unlike. Well, I noticed that when I moved out in here, that rural crime was not very good. We had three teenagers running around in our communities and bashing indoors at night and stealing things till they caught them. But unfortunately, that happens. But that's what rural watch or community watches are for. We watch out for each other and each other's property, and we report suspicious things when they take place. But what you're doing is a little more proactive, where you're saying, hey, crime isn't the only issue out there. There are people who get isolated and need help and don't know how to ask for it, and we need to initiate and get out there. So this is a good idea. And, been tried other places. You mentioned other counties or communities or municipalities around us that have been doing this for some time and they're having success at it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Like I had referenced High River, and they've been around for 20 years, and they've got all kinds of amazing programs going on and like a good volunteer base, and people know they exist and come knocking on the doors. They even have a program where they can go and recover, say, bread from a bakery at the end of the day, and can go and just go door to door and hand out bread, and people know who they are, and so they welcome it and are just happy to have a loaf of bread from a local bakery.
And then you've been at it a short while, 9 weeks or whatever, and you've got a building of trust with the community, and it just grows from there. And it takes time to get there, but it's well worth the effort to build that trust. And the kind of reason why we're doing this is to introduce you and let you know who you are, and as you're the program manager, but you're not working alone. You already have a team with you and other people that are assisting and involved, and the High Country Ministerial as well, back in this group.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to actually give a shout out to the volunteers. I'm just someone that connects people with others, but it's really the volunteers that are carrying this entire thing. We've got people making meals in their spare time, and we've got people driving people in their spare time, and that's, we referenced people having busy lives, and these volunteers are giving of their busy lives and giving of that time in order to make this happen for others, and it's just great. Like, the heart of the volunteers has just been phenomenal, actually.
Yeah, it's really great because that's how you do it. You get the word out, and people like to volunteer. I notice that there are a lot of people who want to volunteer. They want to be a part of the community, but they often find it difficult to find ways to do that and to get involved. And I think as word gets out that you're there and you're organized, and there are ways of plugging in, and you don't necessarily have to get overcommitted. You can do something that's within your skill set and ability, right?
Yeah.
So then that does raise the question: what's the need? What are you hearing that people need out there?
Well, it's right now coming into the summer season. A lot of it is actually like some outside work, right? So some of
Yes.
our seniors actually need some help. They need help painting or mowing or that sort of thing. And so I think it's a real opportunity. I mean, you can still be physically distant and visit with them while you help, with some of the needs that they can't be doing. And,
Well,
that's a part of
yeah.
what we're supposed to be doing here with High Country Helps, is helping other people remain independent, right? So that
There you go.
it doesn't become a burden on society, but rather we're we're just getting them through a rough patch in order for them to take over again.
Right on. Yeah, I was just chatting with someone else on the phone today. They're out doing the hedges of a senior because you just couldn't get out and do it anymore. And what a great thing. So that's lawn mowing and hedging and general yard work. That's a need. An ongoing need has been driving and transportation to locations. That can be a need. Um, is grocery shopping a thing, or do
Yeah,
people need that?
actually, there are people that do need that. And actually, our local grocery store here, AG Foods, has been phenomenal with meeting most of the needs that way. And so, we're trying not to duplicate the services that are out there. However,
Yeah.
if people contact and need it, then absolutely that's something we would do. So.
Yeah, you're largely finding the gaps. I mean, we've got really a great community. The food bank is terrific, and our local grocers and businesses are doing their bit. There's a lot of great stuff and resources available to us. I think that many people don't know what's out there or available to them. But High Country Helps is a place you can go. And if someone wanted to contact you, Cheryl, how would they do it?
Oh, you can contact me at admin@highcountryhelps.com, or you could give me a phone call at 587-575-4466.
All right. Say that number one more time because people just heard it. The guy went for their pen and they forgot what it was. So one more time.
Okay, it's 587-575-4466. You can also check out our website as well. We've had Weston McClinty working very hard on that, and that is www.highcountryhelps.com, and you can see all of the information here that we've been talking about today.
High Country Helps is out there to help you, and we want to hear from you too about suggestions or ways that this group can give a meaningful contribution to our community. You can call 867-292-3030, 867-292-3030, and join our conference call. And when you call, you'll get the access code 466-4877. Just enter that in, and you'll be in, and I'll welcome you to our show. A lot of our viewers watch this after the fact, after the recording, as we're going live, and they'll pick up on this later. And Cheryl, I'll try to make sure to have a link to your website and the contact information they can check below in the comments section. And then we would love to hear from them too, and their comments and suggestions. We're always looking for good communication, aren't we? To hear back what's going on, what are the needs, what's taking place in the community.
Absolutely. Yeah, feedback is absolutely necessary so that we're getting out there in the areas that people need. I mean, it's going to morph as, the summer goes, and, and we fall into the fall situation, with kids going back to school. There may be more of a need for parents to be supported if we don't have the children going back to school, right? So we're going to see the needs morphing, absolutely, and the feedback is essential for us to be able to meet those needs.
Yeah, that's an unknown. We're all hoping for some vaccine to magically show up real soon here so we can get back to a normal life, but who knows? I heard an optimistic projection that they might not be till the end of the year, so who knows when that takes place.
Right.
It's a different world. I go out there, I really don't want people to go shopping for me because that's my big outing of the day, going to the grocery store. That's my big social occasion. And everyone's wearing masks. And I've noticed that there is a cultural difference, it seems to me, between the city where I spend a bit of time and when I go out to the high country, to Turner Valley, Black Diamond, Millerville, Bragg Creek, and so on. The attitude in the surrounding areas outside of Calgary seems to be a little different. People don't seem as uptight or anxious or wearing masks and so on. In the city, they seem to be a lot more very, very nervous. about what's going on. So there are
Right.
different attitudes in different places, and that perceived need can change on how we react and respond to each other, I'm sure. So I noticed a change in the culture when I came out here. I was here many years ago when I was church planting in Brad Creek, and Brad Creek Community Church, and I grew up in Alberta and have lived around the province. And the province I grew up in, Albertans drove cars. I remember living in Camrose, and we thought nothing of driving to Edmonton to buy groceries. Yeah, it's it's what you did, and you would drive for hours just to go visit someone on their farm or wherever it was, or to go to another place. We would often drive from the Camrose area down to the mountains just to go see them, to enjoy that, and a nice day trip. But since I moved back here after being away for 20 some years, my goodness, this community has changed. People don't like to drive anymore. They have segregated themselves into communities. I've noticed when I arrived here, I worked at Home Depot on 16th Ave in North Calgary, and right in the middle of the city. And I was surprised at listening to people that they didn't move outside or shop or try to work outside their communities. Like if they were in Somerset or North Hill or wherever it might be, they just tried to stay in. They couldn't even imagine leaving those communities. It was just too far. And what? Is this Calgary? Driving across town was nothing in Calgary in the day, but now people are a lot more localized. I've noticed that people are more and more isolated and don't connect, don't know their neighbors, and our communities have changed over the years since the 80s and on. I don't know exactly what caused that, but it's a reality. And when we have a crisis like the flood of Turner Valley or a pandemic or a massive hailstorm rolls through, there's been quite a few events lately, right? That's when we really do need each other and help each other out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've had quite a few here, and I think that is part of the purpose of High Country Helps. I mean, it's kind of springboarding off of this COVID, but once we're all connected, we can change that culture and we can change that mentality, right? And and then we can be there for each other, say if another flood happens, or if there was some sort of fire that happened within the town site or whatever, then people are already connected and already know where to go.
I think we get kind of complacent and we think no bad will happen, but that's just not true. Things happen.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
And it's not just about big problems or disasters that affect us all, but we can all go through personal crisis in our life, and it's good to know there's a community out there that cares when that happens to me and not to other people. It's not to help people feel victimized and always being in a needy situation, but just a helping hand in a moment when you need it, so you can move on and take care of yourself. And that's not a shameful thing, is it? To occasionally you need a
No.
helping hand.
Yep. I think one of the people around here in my neighborhood ended up falling and hurting their shoulder, and I know that because I chat with my neighbors, and so we're able to go out and do some lawn mowing and some shoveling and give that shoulder to time to heal, right? It's not that that person is needy. It's just that we're out there, just loving our neighbors, and making sure that we take care of one another, because you know what? I'd love for him to be able to live here for another 20 years.
Oh
I
yeah.
like my neighbor,
Oh yeah.
and if we can help that, situation so that, he doesn't decide to move to a condo, then that would be great. I'd love to have them stick around for a long time yet. So
Hey, there's nothing wrong with condos. I made that choice. I moved back up here of living in a warm climate for 20 years, and then I hit the horrendous winter when we came up, and I thought, I do not want to shovel sidewalks all day. I'm going to get a condo where
yep,
someone else will do it. Well, you pass 60 and you get lazy, so. Yes. But hey,
bones ache. And
all bones ache, but
yeah.
the things happen all the time we never expected, and I know that one of our concerns when we looked at this initiative was that the real effect of COVID-19 wouldn't be felt later till government subsidy checks and all that start going away. Then the economic impact will really start hitting. And we're kind of anticipating hard times for a lot of people that may not always be visible, but that it's coming. And people are going to need help. And to be ready for that is better than to try to play catch up at a later date.
Oh, absolutely. I think you're right on, because one of the biggest things that I think we're bracing for is just mental health that's going to come out
Yes,
of this. Like, economics is one thing, but that, when people are losing their homes or their livelihoods, I mean, the
yeah,
stress that puts on a person and how that, impacts the family, and that can show up in
totally.
so many different ways. And so, knowing that something like High Country Helps is here, and you don't know who to call because you have never been here before and you never planned to be there, and you're
Yeah,
just like, hey, I don't know who to call. I just want someone to talk to. I need a referral of what number do I even call? What's the next step? Where do I go? We have people that are getting ready and learning these things so that people can come and ask these questions, and we have ready answers in order to send them in the right directions. And if we don't have those answers, there is a team working on it for you.
this is so great. It's nice to be proactive and ahead, and it took this pandemic to get us triggered and moving in this direction. But as we're finding, there are a lot of things we're doing now that we never did before that we're saying, well, gee, why haven't we been doing this, right? But here it is.
Right.
Now we're motivated to get involved and
Yeah.
to do what needs. I think we're sort of getting woke, they say, from our complacent attitude about life, and thinking that everything will go on as it always has without realizing, we can't be complacent anymore. We need to take action and do something about it. I remember, I'm old enough, I look back at history. When I was church planting back in the 80s, Alberta was in a downturn economically because the oil prices had dropped. And I had president of oil companies in my church, and chemists and geologists and all that. And a lot of these guys had good paying jobs, but they were hurting. And uh, I remember one exec telling me, hey, Pastor, I got to lay off half my floor on Monday. How do I decide as a Christian who to lay off and who not? I'm going to ruin their lives. And the that weighed on them so much. And so we've gone through that, and we saw back in those days in the 80s in the Brad Creek area, divorce rate was huge. People were the strain on the marriage and the relationships. It was not good at all. What we also saw was that people moved out to those areas to get away from the city and away from other people. So they ended up on an acreage isolated. And then the economic downturn happened, and their marriage and their family and everything went into crisis mode. And it was not a pretty sight. It was really unfortunate. But that's what groups like yours can do. It isn't just moving to the rural area for the scenery or the lifestyle, but it's also for the community. It's a wonderful community, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, I love living out here.
And you live where? In the Turner Valley area?
Yep, in the town of Turner Valley.
Great. High Country Helps isn't limited to Turner Valley. It reaches over a large geographical area, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're spreading all the way down to Longview, all the way up to the Pritis area, and so that encompasses Turner Valley as well as Black Diamond and everything in between. So yeah, it's actually quite a large area that we've taken under our wing and said, hey, like we're all local, we're all neighbors, and it's close enough, as you say, to drive across from one area to the other.
So High Country Helps is there. They're looking for you to connect with them if you have a need or you're aware of a need in our community where someone could use a helping hand through a rough patch. They want to know about that. But they could also contact CHERYL Brown, Program Director for High Country Helps, with information. If you're aware of other organizations, resources in the community, other groups out there in neighboring municipalities that are doing this, they could also contact you, CHERYL, right, and let you know, hey, did you know this is out there? And you might already be aware of it, but it doesn't hurt to. you might discover something hidden away we didn't know about. So they can feel free to contact you and let you know about those resources as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. And just opening up that conversation is great. Even being able to double check that what we're giving out as a resource, maybe there is something better out there. And I'd love to be in touch with other people and just compare notes and compare phone numbers and who we're using and what works for another organization. And yeah, I would love to hear from people and be in touch.
CHERYL, it's just marvelous that, and I think this really's got a future. And if we can keep working at it and connecting, I just know the character of our area. Great people out here in Turner Valley and Black Diamond, and Millerville, and all around the area, all the way down to Longview. And I'm sure even in the rural areas that they're just good character people who would love to be involved and to be a part of that. We have another caller coming in, and welcome to Coffee with Pastor John. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Pastor John, Bill here.
Hey.
How are you? We're southern BC, and I just realized what time it is here. We're still on Alberta time, but just caught the last little bit of CHERYL there.
Hey, welcome, Bill. How's the weather in BC?
Well, it's beautiful here. No hail here.
Well, that's good. We're getting our fair share of hail coming through Calgary and the high country area. Yeah. Dr. Bill Bieber, a world traveler, international renown, and just all-around good guy, right?
Well, I don't know about the latter.
I can vouch for him. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Bill, you've been
we're really impressed.
You've been involved in this
really
kind of.
CHERYL is doing this.
Yeah, she's doing a great job, and we're just thrilled that she's involved in this and leading this initiative. Bill, you've been involved in this kind of initiative other places in the world, right?
Yeah, well, COVID has actually created a lot of sort of interest in this approach. Obviously, this goes back quite a while with when they worried about the H1N1, and then you see in all the developing world, particularly in Southeast Asia, where we spend so much of our time. There's one disaster after another, and what we're all realizing is when it comes to these kinds of things, it's really neighbors looking after neighbors that are going to make the difference, because the system, in a lot of these situations, just can't cope. And so the neighbor to neighbor, and certainly what the Lord taught us, He said in His two commandments was love Him and love our neighbor. And so this provides a phenomenal opportunity for us to show love to our neighbors, because it's critical at this point.
I was just talking with the Lumpkeys, who just finished quarantine after their trip back from Myanmar, and they were telling us about a new corporation they just formed, which is basically doing this work in their area, where they're working at reaching out to the community and creating coalitions and getting groups together and resources to people that need that. And they're just across the border from the Wuhan province or area where China, where the outbreak came from. So they're pretty near the epicenter. So yeah, this is happening globally, and it's good to see Christians on the ground doing this kind of thing all over the world, and to doing it right here in our own area as well. So kudos to all this great work that everyone's doing, and we just love that. It's going to make a difference, we believe, in the long term. My
Yeah, and when we
go ahead, Bill.
yeah, we see this. Yeah, I mean, people are really coming to the forefront and realizing how significant this is, and the need to look after each other. So yeah, around the world, it's really happening, and it's bringing out the best in people. I mean, we get the news, all the negative stuff that's happening, but the positive stuff that's coming from it, and yeah, the fact that Christians are reaching out to their neighbors and providing support and volunteering, and so I mean, this is the whole endeavor. And as Cheryl is saying, that yeah, I mean, this is our opportunity, and people are taking that. And so here in our own community, it's a great opportunity to really do some help and to make a difference. It's been interesting to see how this is all developed around the world.
I just know that as people get aware of this, what it is, get used to working with this group and with Cheryl, which is a wonderful person. She's very warm and friendly. I'm sure they're going to start getting engaged and volunteering and reaching out for help. I like the food bank here in our area is the need has gone up and they've met that need, but so has the giving and the volunteering. I mean, people just respond. We've got a lot of wonderful people in the area, and I think once they get aware of High Country Helps and what you're trying to do, Cheryl, I think you're going to get a lot of calls and people wanting to be involved.
Oh yeah, I welcome the calls. We have every sort of thing that people can get involved in. I mean, if you only have 10 minutes a week, I would love for you to be able to fold pamphlets. If you're someone who needs to stay home but you love to sew, I mean, we could use that skill absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that we could use actually is people just willing to talk to their neighbors and connect with them, and I think that's actually probably the foundation of this entire organization is neighbors connecting with neighbors, as Bill said. And we've come up with a term as a block connector to essentially connect with the 20 people on your block that is closest to you. And 20 sounds like a lot, but 20 is just my cul-de-sac, and so it's really not hard to just go knock on the door and say, you know what, I've decided I'm going to be the person to check in. If you need anything, give me a call, and I'll be there to help connect you with someone that can help. And if nobody needs help at all, that's fine. At least you've met your neighbors, right? And you never know where these types of connections can take you to. It could be lifelong friendships just because you went out and said hi.
Wow. This block connector is the key then to the future of how we efficiently stay in connection with our community on a whole, right? This block connector who goes out and just stays connected to their community around them, the neighbors in their area. So
yeah, absolutely.
If you can volunteer to do certain things, but if you're that person that would like to take care of your block is like a neighborhood watch. We would love to hear from you. Cheryl would love to hear from you and say, hey, we might already have a block connector in your area and you don't know it.
Yep.
But by going through Cheryl, we can find out where the need is and who's in that area, right?
That's exactly right. I actually have some laminated maps of the area, and I've got my erasable marker there, and I'm filling in the block connectors as they come in, and people are really enjoying it actually as they connect. And it's not even a daunting task. I have some pamphlets explaining the very simple process. I have some postcards that all you have to do is fill your name and your number, and even if your neighbor's not home, you can just pressure slip it into their door there, and you're done. You've connected with your neighbor, and
Exactly.
hopefully those connections just continue. Yeah.
And I know from the interview we did on Tuesday that calling on people and checking on them is actually quite a rewarding experience. It's not a negative experience. We usually set ourselves up thinking that someone's going to greet me with a shotgun at the door or something like that, but for the most part, it's a really good experience. And you'll have some people, I'm sure, who will say, I'm all right, and you don't need to worry about me. And they'll say, and that's okay, right? You give them that choice. You're not there to invade privacy or anything like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. It's just a matter of, let's say your dog is missing. It just got out of the backyard, and
Yeah.
you can call people on your block and say, hey, Scrappy's missing. Can y'all keep your lights out for him? So it doesn't have to be, I'm in a life crisis, help me, it can just be, my tendonitis has flared up. Do you mind just coming and helping me pull this one big weed out? I just can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I totally get it. Growing up, we had a Great Dane, and we only had the only Great Dane in the area, and that big old dog would get out once in a while and lope down the street. We'd get phone calls going as the dog went down the street saying, hey, your dog is out. So, pretty hard to miss that thing. It was huge.
That's a connected neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
And that's what we're looking for, that people would know our number to call us. So it's, yeah. We're trying to, and I was mentioning earlier, we used to assume that would take place, and we can't assume that anymore. We've got to be more intentional about making that take place. Right? It's not a cultural assumed thing anymore. It's an intentional thing that has to take place.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It just takes so many different forms. I mean, I tell my kids who are teenagers at this point, like I have eyes everywhere, and as a kid, they never really understood the term. But now they're starting to understand my eyes everywhere are the people around town who know who my kids are. Right? So if you're going to think about being up to no good, that I'm going to get a phone call, right? And that's neighbors connecting with neighbors, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many different benefits to getting involved.
High Country Helps is not a snitch network. I want you to understand that. It's a separate thing. And they're here to help and to do that. Years ago, my dad was working for social health and welfare and became the district coordinator for the social health and welfare in the Camrose district. And he started a thing called Preventive Social Services, and that was a coalition of schools, police, churches that got together. And what they would do is identify a family unit that was on their way to needing social services. And what they did is they preempted that family before they got there. And they found
That's awesome.
It made all the difference in the world because it was easier to help them early rather than late. Because when you get involved in that...
Yeah, and that's the...
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key to it, is the whole prevention. I mean, we're learning that in medicine, that when the horse is out, I mean, you've had your heart attack. That's too late. I mean,
Yep.
you need to intervene way farther up in terms of your diet and exercise and so forth. So it's the same in all of these situations. And so, yeah, I mean that your father, the people there were very forward thinking, and I think that's what Turner Valley, Black Diamond, the Foothills municipality people are recognizing, that we just can't keep ahead of it. And the feeling is that when the subsidies and everything run out, then how are they going to keep up with this demand, the hopelessness and whatnot? I mean, they say suicide rates have gone up something like 400% in I think in North America, Canada. So the despair that's out there is they call it death by despair, is a real concern. And really, it's only neighbors that can be mostly aware of what's going on in their area. Social services, the public servants who are responsible for this, they don't know. They don't have the hands and feet out there. And as neighbors, we become that. So yeah, this is the ultimate preventative process, looking after each other, and certainly demonstrates scriptural principles for us. That's what our responsibility is for each other.
And I love what Cheryl's doing, because she provides that coordinated help and then linked to the other resources and bringing them to bear when they're... So we're not just doing it on our own anymore. We're doing it together. So it's doing the old neighborly thing, but doing it better even than we used to, where we were more coordinated and working together to make sure everyone's okay. In the long run, this lowers taxes, improves community, and raises property values, right?
Sure. Yeah, it's a whole redemptive kind of process, even in the system, and the municipalities, they're asking, and here we are. I mean, there's a consortium of churches under the ministerial. They're actually asking for, because they say, churches are the best people strategically located. They're members within the community. They're all through the community. Yeah. You can do this. You have a volunteer base. You have a motivational base. You have all of that stuff. So this consortium under High Country Ministerial, you pastors, this is powerful, and they see this as powerful. It's a phenomenal witness. The unity that's being demonstrated, the network that is being tapped into, is just invaluable. And this is, again, when we work throughout internationally, we say, the church is the most significant respected entity within the communities, and has that bank of people who are motivated and should be motivated. So this is very, very powerful, and it's really interesting to see how the secular world is really recognizing that in this time.
Wow. I heard the Lumpkes from Miramar say that just yesterday. They said if the church were not there, there would be a huge hole, and everyone would say, "Oh my goodness, what just happened?" So it's all part of what we're doing. I want to touch on one thing. We got about 10 minutes. I told you, Cheryl, it wouldn't take long. I fill an hour. Coffee with Pastor John was my way of substituting going down to Tim's and having coffee with someone, and I usually book 2 hours off to have a conversation, at least 2, and it would stretch to 3 often. It's really easy once we get talking, and it touches on so many parts in our life. But I want to capitalize on our time here. I'm aware there's another segment of the population. There are people in our community that don't go to a church, might have had a bad church experience, and they're saying, well, here's another church initiative, a coalition of High Country Ministerial, but are they going to start shoving God down my throat, or do I have to belong to a church, or are they expecting me to be religious if I call out for help with my yard or groceries?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, this is just pure compassion, and just loving people on the most basic level. This isn't about shoving anything down anyone's throat. I mean, sure, principles of what we're doing are biblical, but really, I think it's just it's how society should be, has been in the past. That sort of thing is just being compassionate and loving your neighbor, and just getting some like-minded people together in order to do so.
Yeah, so don't let that this was started as a church initiative to keep you at bay. We're just here to help. That's it. That's all. Just give you a helping hand. No commitment. People don't have to pay us back in any way. We're not looking to get anything from them, right?
That's correct.
You have to say that. You really do, because there will be people that will hold back because they're concerned and nervous about that. So it needs to be stated so that people know that. But I think as you go along and you build that trust, people will come to believe that and become a part of our community just as much as our wonderful Turner Valley Library. Oh, how we have missed the library, right? Having it shut down. That is a real community center, and a lot of people use it for essential services too, just for connecting. I see people hanging out in that community center, that open corner and yard space and play area by the library there. It's like we're all waiting for the library to open or something like that, just to reconnect with one another. Hey guys, you guys have been great. I want to thank you for what you're doing and the work you're doing. I know you may not always give thanks or get thanks from people for it, but I want to officially do that, and so glad we're a part of that too and supporting what you're doing. High Country helps. Do check out their website. Go to it and learn more if you're in need, or if you want to help out or volunteer. If you want to make them aware of other resources in the valley, that's great. If you're in another area of the province and you are running a program like this, I'm sure Cheryl would love to hear from you as well while we're doing this startup and getting ourselves organized about how you're doing it and what worked and not. Cheryl would love to hear from you as well. And we just hope her phone starts ringing off the hook and emails start flowing in and suggestions and comments. And we always appreciate that. Any last comments, Cheryl or Bill?
I just want to say thank you for giving us the exposure and letting us come on and let the community know that we're here and exactly what it is we're up to. So thank you very much for having us on.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and thank you very much for sure. Yeah, I'll just echo that, and thank you to the High Country Ministerial. I think yourself, Pastor John, Pastor Reverend Tegeti, and Matt. I mean, and there's John Atwood. There's the Catholic people. There's Gil down in Longview. That group has been very encouraging as with the whole process, and so we just want to thank the pastors and being willing to just let it be known amongst their membership. So the more that happens, the more volunteer share we'll have. So we just thank you and appreciate the ongoing work that you guys are doing and encouraging the membership to be involved. So thank you for this time.
Oh, you're welcome, Bill and Cheryl. And Cheryl will have to get updates from you down the road as things come along and hear how they're going. And we'll stay tuned, too, and hope that no bad happens. But we know if life shows up that there is a community around you to care for you. And I just thank you guys so much for being on the show today and being a part of this. Do check out our other shows on MCC Briefings, Coffee with Pastor John. We've been doing this for quite some time now, since the beginning of COVID-19. A lot of interesting shows to various topics. Our call-in show has only been about a week long, and do check those out as well. And be ready to call in and participate 10 o'clock. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, midweek. We also have evening vespers every weeknight, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m., which are evening prayers. A lot of people have been enjoying that, giving you a little peace at the end of your day. People are telling us they're joining us for vespers and having a wonderful sleep at night. We also have our Sunday messages are recorded and broadcasted on Sunday, and you can join us for that every Sunday at our webpage, YouTube, and Facebook, and be a part of that. We are working towards getting together for outdoor services this summer. We've kind of waiting for the terrible weather to pass so that we don't have to hide under our umbrellas when we get together, but we're doing outdoor services. The Alberta government has now said that there is no limit to attendance, but we still need to social distance. So the way we can receive all comers is out there in the country. We have plenty of room for everyone to come. Bring your lawn chair, bring your own coffee and snacks if you want. Get yourself comfortable just like we would at a Stampede breakfast. We'll have our outdoor services starting up real soon here in July. Not that far away. Takes a while to get started again, to get our worship teams going and the sound and everything set up, and we will be going soon. Stay tuned. Check our website for updates on that as we work towards that date. In the meantime, we're still online, still available. Precepts, Bible studies, you can participate online, be a part of that as well. There is a lot going on, even online Sunday school and so on. And you can be a part of all of that while we're going through this, so we're going through it together. There's no need to be isolated. Millerville Community Church, just a short drive away, just 20 minutes from Calgary. You can be a part of that, and we hope you will. We've enjoyed our time together and hope to see you real soon.